Staying in the same thread, we also wanted to do another aria that I'm sure that we all love here, especially with our esteemed special guest for tonight.
right, so I just want to recognize these individuals, especially Jesse Gibbons in the red coat. Yes? Because he is music director of Duly Noted and organizes all aspects of our house band and does a spectacular job. So thank you, Jesse. Also want to point out Ben on keyboard, John on drum set, and last but not least, we got Sam over here. So give it up for them. Did you notice? You did notice. We had the habanera and we had a little Nessun Dorma, a little opera spin with our Duly Noted jazz band. Great job, guys. So, are you ready for the research revolution? Are you ready for the music revolution? Yeah. All right. Let's do LMR Live. Are we good in the back, y'all? Are we good for the live stream? Let's do our intro video. Welcome to LMR Live, an innovative talk show from the University of Mississippi, hosted by yours truly, Nancy Maria Balach. I am a professor here at the university, a soprano, and the director of the Living Music Resource. LMR is a product that I am proud of. We bring you this talk show, whether you're here in the audience or watching via the web, we are bringing you edutainment. Edutainment is a combination of entertainment and education, and I think it should just be fun. What do you guys think? Woo! So what is LMR Live? I want you to think. Inside the actor's studio meets late night television. Why can't we put a little pop culture into academia? I think it's a good idea. So if you have questions as we go along, I want this to be a conversation. So if an idea, a thought, a question pops up in your head, raise your hand if you're in the house, and Brady Bramlett will be there with a microphone and you can chime in. This is interactive, and if you are at home, hello to all our faithful viewers. Whether you're in West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, wherever you may be, we're so glad you're with us tonight. Tweet me, chat on YouTube, send it in Facebook. We will answer your questions. The music revolution continues. So, tonight's broadcast is special because it's part of one of LMR's products, the Living Music Institute. My colleague Amanda Johnson and I started this program last year, and we've brought singers from across the nation and Canada to Oxford, Mississippi. They are here for an aria intensive program working with faculty and with our esteemed artist, Sandra Piques Eddy, who I promise we will bring out in a second. That's why you're watching, right? Incredible singers. And in addition to learning while they're here, they also compete. They compete in an aria competition with a cash prize and the opportunity to perform with the LOU Symphony Orchestra in the Ford Center here in Oxford. And let me just say to my viewers other places, if you have not been to Oxford or to Ole Miss, you're missing something. Come visit. All right, let's talk about tonight's guest. Who is Sandra Piques Eddy? I'm going to do a quote. Sandra Piques Eddy was more than up to portraying the seductive, anti-heroine, an unstoppable force in the title role. Eddy sang with a fiery and alluring tone akin to burnt honey. I'd love for someone to say that about me. Her charisma and gravitas carried the opera. That's a quote. That's a great quote. So she has sung all over. Let's just face facts. Metropolitan Opera. She's sung in London. She sings in Japan. She sings all over, and she's here with us. So help me bring out Sandra Piques Eddy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, come have a seat. Now, do I sound too tinny? I feel like I sound tinny. Am I tinny in the house, or is the tone okay? All right, good. Making sure. Making sure. Even singers, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't love hearing our own voices necessarily. You know, no.
And then we're not used to microphones. No. We don't know what to do with them.
We are not. Actually, I'm jumping from what I was going to talk about, but let's talk about that.
Yes.
So for folks that are new to opera or new to this art form, you know, we don't use microphones. We're used to projecting the voice.
Yes, and that's why we're in the practice rooms all those hours to learn how to get our voices out in 4,000-seat houses and trying to always project as best as we can.
Totally, and we often don't get anything back. So when we hear ourselves with the mic, it's like, whoa, who is that?
A little startling.
Who is that? So I know I brought you out, but I want to show a little video.
Oh, okay.
I want to set the tone. I mean, some of the folks in the audience here got to enjoy her artistry a moment ago at a house concert hosted by a very dear friend, and it was exquisite. But let's just show a couple clips of Sandy for those viewers at home to get a taste if you haven't experienced the burnt honey. Was that what I said? All right, let's run the video on Sandra. So, you may say, why not have her perform live? Because I want people to come back tomorrow night.
Yes.
So we show these highlights. Plus, it's nice to see you on the full set orchestra, all that stuff.
Thank
It's
you.
lovely.
I have to just interject for 1 second.
Yes!
Because whenever I pick my daughter up, I have a 9-year-old daughter, and when I pick her up from school, her little friends say, "Are you on YouTube?" And all I could think of is if they find me doing this. I'm like, oh my gosh, can you imagine? Mom, look, there's Beatrice's mother. Okay.
Special meeting at school.
Yes, right. So that's what I
Special
was
meeting.
giggling.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come to the University of Mississippi. What is your first impression of Oxford and Ole Miss? I want to know.
Nancy got a huge kick out of me yesterday because we were crossing the street and there was a car coming and I stopped and then the car stopped and I said, "Oh, I guess we can go." And I'm not used to that. And I'm meeting such lovely people. I have the best impression of Oxford, Mississippi, and there's a big snowstorm coming in Boston, so I may just have to stick around a couple.
I might just convince her to stay. Yes. I know we have lots of people who would take you under their wing, and I'll thumb wrestle them for you. So let's just give a little background first. Can we talk a bit? I just want people to know how we met.
Sure.
Will you
Can
share?
I tell the embarrassing story?
I guess.
Okay, so
I don't believe you, but go ahead.
I'm going to gush on Nancy because I was a student at Boston University and I auditioned for Ohio-led opera back a couple years ago. So I had just sung Nancy in Benjamin Britten's Albert Herring, and I remember hearing a recording, and Nancy was the Nancy on the recording. And then when I knew I was going to meet Nancy in person, I was so kind of starstruck, and I was like, "Oh, hi, my name's Sandy, and I think you're amazing." So I was so starstruck.
You are very sweet. Now the tables have turned. I mean, the moment you opened your mouth that summer and you took the stage, she just owns everything she does, just with 100% of your being. And the thing about it is, you're an honest performer.
Oh, thank
it's
you.
not pretentious. It's real, and I think we connect to it. I mean, did you find that even in the clip we watched, it's real? There's something I will even go so far to say is raw about it that I love. So when did you start singing?
Well, I always loved singing, but I didn't really think it was something that I could do as a career. I loved singing in church choirs. I was in show choir. I loved musicals in high school. I loved West Side Story. I could not see that film enough, and I loved Guys and Dolls, and I did all the show choir and musicals in high school. I remember, I feel like my life is a series of surprises, and I remember auditioning for like All-State and getting in, and that was always like, wow, I got in, okay. And I don't know if it's just like, I'm not trying to be cute or anything like that, but I really am always just so grateful for any of the opportunities.
But I think you are so humble. You're so humble. I mean, our students that got to have lunch with Sandy today, didn't you walk away, you're like, I mean, you're having lunch with a superstar, and she's just, it's like, okay, just, it's me. And that's special to you, Sandy. Not everyone's like that.
Thank you. I just feel we're so lucky to get to do what we love to do every day. You know, of course there are challenges, but, and I have to say that working with young singers, you guys remind me why I'm here, and I'm so jazzed and excited about working with you tomorrow night and hearing you on Sunday. So just please promise me, just have such a great time, you know, because this is, I just want you to love it up here, you know, and that's what we all want, you know. So just shine and give us your gifts. You know, we love that. We were talking about the gymnast, Caitlin Ohashi, am I saying her name? Caitlin Ohashi, and how she has this incredible, immense joy in her performing that you can't help but smile when you're watching this performer.
Absolutely.
So I feel like she's been an inspiration to so many. So let's try to, you know, I almost did a Marie Kondo. Let's spark that joy.
So going back, so you did the All-State Choir thing, school, all of the shows, and then you did your undergraduate degree in education.
Music education.
Music education.
Go music ed. They used to say better dead than music ed, but we're like, but I know.
And we have a lot of music ed students here at the University of Mississippi,
and
a lot of them go on to do performance masters.
And I tell you, being a teacher, you have 7 classes a day. I mean, 7 classes a day, 7 performances a day.
No, I agree with you.
But
It's to
you
be a
are
performer.
performing all the time. And I think that helped me in 2 aspects, because I know that I have to, when I'm trying to just be clear and tell a story. And it helped being a teacher, because I had to be clear in my direction or in my storytelling, you know.
For sure.
But the other thing that helped me out was I played a lot of young boys for the first 10 years of my career. I taught middle school boys, so I was like, oh, I know exactly how to get that. I know, I have the student in mind for this character and that character.
Yeah.
So I think that the music ed background, I loved it. And you'll see in the master class tomorrow that I still approach a lot of things in a very playful way, because we talked about this today. Playful, if you're playing, then that's the creativity, the home of creativity. If you're playful, you don't see kids in the playground wondering if they're doing something perfectly. They just play and they're just having a good time. So then the kids are so creative.
And
so
they force you to be
artistic.
truthful, because if you're
Yes.
not honest, and I wonder if some of this plays into your ability, I mean, I think it's you, that maybe helped hone your authenticity. If you're not authentic with children, I mean, they call you honest,
Oh, they
right?
know, they know.
They know. They know.
so know.
When did you know that you wanted singing to be your career? When was it like, this is what I'm going to do?
Okay, there were a lot of little moments. So I was a teacher for 3 years in Needham, Massachusetts. And in Massachusetts, you have to be pursuing your master's degree within the first 5 years of teaching. So I went back for my master's at Boston University. I did my undergrad at Boston Conservatory, and I went back for my master's at Boston University in performance. And that's when I switched from soprano to mezzo-soprano, which made sense vocally, but also my temperament was more suited for
Talk about that, because I don't know if
Okay.
everyone knows that. So there's sort of inclinations or just ways that
Sure.
people are drawn to certain voice types. And you even hear this with instrumentalists, just how someone's drawn. Do you guys think so? Yes?
Like, how do you pick your instrument?
Yes.
You know, it's
Yes.
just like, yeah, exactly.
Yes. Talk about that a
but
little
I
bit
have
for
to say,
folks that don't know.
It wasn't so easy at first, because I used to sing Juliet's Waltz, and I remember thinking, wait a minute, I'm going from being Juliet to being Romeo's friend. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute. But, you know, but it's, I found that the characters just spoke to my personality. Like Rosina is like this kind of quirky, spunky girl that just has a little bit of special like hot sauce to her, you know what I mean? So I like that about
Spitfire.
Yeah, I like that. And it was a great way to give myself permission to be that and to be Carmen. I didn't sing Carmen. I was I was guided by very smart people, and I also wanted to be I wanted to be ready for that kind of a role, because it's not just the singing, it's the acting, and you have to have something to say that's slightly different than the other bazillion Carmens out there.
For sure.
You know, so I forget what the question was.
No, it's okay. I'm just gonna go off of that. So, in the classical world, we're talking about how one is more drawn to a certain voice type reflects
yes.
someone's personality. But something else to our patrons of this art form to understand that as a singer, the voice is continuing to grow. The body is continuously changing.
Sure.
When you were starting out with the lyric mezzo stuff, you were predominantly playing pants roles, which means that you were playing a young boy. So then it has to be the right vocal time in that development, and as the voice just grows on its own to venture into Carmen.
Sure.
And now, I mean, I'm jumping ahead like all my cards, but that's okay. You're now looking at a new sort of treasure chest
Yes,
of repertoire
lots
you
of
can dive
great-
into
yeah.
as you continue to mature in age. You know, so often we're like, it's a bad thing in the aging process, but in
But not
this, it's a good
necessarily.
thing, because
Especially-
there's always something new,
I feel like
something new.
With mezzos especially, like there's so much stuff to look forward to. Like
Right.
I hope someday to sing Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd, you know?
Yes.
And there's so much great stuff to look forward to.
To sink your teeth into.
Yes, so I'm not done.
No way, no way, no way, no way, no way. All right, Caitlin wants to know, how long did it take you to maintain stability in your career? In other words, how long did it take you to find consecutive gigs?
Okay, well, that's a great question. I, of course, myself in a lot of, I always call myself like a working class opera singer. You have people that are like the superstars or whatever, but I feel, I'm not putting myself down. I feel very fortunate, very grateful that I've had the career that I've had, and it's been 20 years. And, you know, sometimes you have about like 6 weeks off here and there, but it's been pretty consistent. Where's the wood? Right there. So, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I've been really lucky, kind of right off the bat. When I got my start, I was at Glimmerglass Opera as a young artist, and someone from the Metropolitan Opera heard me, and it was, again, I was surprised. Oh, the theme of my life, surprise. So I was reading an email, and I remember it had all these dates, like chunks of time. It was like 6 different operas. And they said, we would like to know your availability for da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I looked around like, okay, who did that? Like, who wrote this email? This is so silly. But then I wrote back when I realized it was a real thing.
It was not spam.
It was not it wasn't a joke. Yeah. So I wrote back, I am available for every date, every time, anytime you want me. So yeah, so that was, it got me in the door at the Metropolitan Opera, and I've been there pretty consistently since 2001, and I feel always so welcomed and so loved there by, you know, the security guys and the people at the backstage, and it's just like everybody, the administration. I feel really loved and supported there. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
What is your favorite career moment so far? Has there been one?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. My favorite, and I've said this, so like I have so many lovely casts and experiences, but this is a tricky one.
Well, let me just know, there's another question coming up from
Okay.
Maddie wanting to know what's your favorite role and why.
Okay.
So if you want to pair them, or you go wherever you want.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 little snippets. Okay, so one will be like the very career aspect one. When I was in England a few years back, I sang Popea in the Coronation of Popea with, honest to good, it was just magic. Everybody in that cast was so well suited for their roles. The orchestra was on stage with us. The director was phenomenally, demanded a lot, but it was just provocative and real, and everybody on stage was as good of an actor as they were a singer, and it just looked gritty but sexy and beautiful, and like they had me dressed like Sophia Loren with the fabulous hair, and oh my gosh, I loved that production so much, and I feel like that was the pinnacle of just perfection when it comes to art, the arts just combining and just being absolutely perfect, and everybody in the cast is just I'm getting all verklempt. They were just the most incredible people, and I was so lucky to be part of that. Well, but on a side note, okay, so the next thing that was one of my career highlights, it's a personal level.
Sure.
So I was singing in Greensboro Opera,
All right.
singing La Cenerentola.
Yes.
And my daughter, who was 5 years old, was with me for the duration of the rehearsal process and the performances. The director, David Hawley, who's the loveliest man in this business, he's just a love. He was so charmed by my daughter Beatrice, because she's a stage kid, and if she doesn't end up on stage, that'll be the biggest surprise of my life, because she's always on, and she knows all the words to like the Brahms that I sang tonight.
Oh, yeah,
she
yeah.
She knows everything. I'm
Oh,
like, how
my
do you know
goodness.
this? But so he included her into the opera as a super. And at the end, when I get married and I have the crown on my head, she came out as like the lady in waiting. Oh my gosh, I'm like, whoa, lady in waiting. And she came out with this beautiful silk blue dress, and her hair was up, and she came out with a pillow with a tiara that they put on my head at the end after before Non più mesta. But the best part of that was at the end, we all bowed, and then Beatrice and I came out and we did a bow together. And so we bowed together, and then I took a bow, and I gave her the last bow, which, as you know, in the business, it's the highest esteemed, position there. So I bowed. I still have to work on my bow. In 20 years, I still have to work on my bow, because I'm still like, hey, thanks. And I need to be more like, I just sang a really difficult role, thank you very much. But my daughter, I could take a lesson from that kid. Oh my goodness, she got up and it was the most grand bow. And the audience, I mean, we had Sydney Outlaw, Andrew Owens, and like all this like cast of phenomenal singers, Rosina, and like the beautiful singers. Singing difficult, like show in bel canto is just like, check out my voice, basically, isn't it? So, like, listen to my beautiful sound. So this kid gets up and bows, and the audience, the whole night was very responsive, but the audience went crazy when she bowed like that. I was like, oh no, what have we created? But it was amazing. It was the sweetest
That's
thing. It makes my
hilarious.
heart just, I feel like
That's
the Grange
so
Shrews
sweet.
heart grows like 3 sizes or whatever. Whenever I hear that, I think of that story, it just makes my heart just,
That's so sweet.
it's just so, oh.
I want to meet Bee sometime.
Oh my gosh, she'd
Maybe
love
her.
it. She'd be here like, da, 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 da. So,
If you could have a performance redo,
oh.
what would it be and why?
Well, you know, I got really sick a few years back in Calgary, and it was for Carmen, and it was one of those things I should have been more, I should have told them right off the bat, look, I can't do this right now, because it's, you know, you're sick, and the thing is, you want so badly to do it, because you know the role, you love the cast, the chorus.
Sure.
You know, when you sing Carmen, you get so tight with that chorus, especially the first chorus, because you're just like, loving on everybody. You saw that, right? You're like, oh, I trust you. You have to really get to know everybody. So that was when I wish I was a machine at that point, because
Gotcha.
you know we all get sick, you know, and you want so much to please everybody, but sometimes it's just the limitations, you know. So I
Totally.
wish I just took more echinacea.
More echinacea.
More echinacea or more zinc or.
Do you have a hard time coming to the point of saying no? I think a lot of, especially young singers, it's hard to think like, I can't say no. I can't say no to this. I can't say no to that. Was that hard for you early on? Same now? How is the no for you?
I've been pretty lucky. I think people kind of, they know what my voice can do, like pretty much, you know, so I feel like I haven't had to say no a lot of times. But there are times that someone will say, oh, what about, I won't even say it because I don't want to like call someone out, but someone said this role that was, I was singing Carmen somewhere, and someone in the higher up in the business said, oh, would you consider singing, it was a role that was so big and so dramatic, like it's just not my temperament, and it's not, I don't think it's a lyric mezzo role, but I think they thought it because it was a kind of a sexy or like a very like I could sink my teeth into it acting wise, but I just smiled and I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. Let me consider that, and then I was like, there's no way I'm going to sing
no
that.
way.
But it's, you know, I tried to just be smart, you know, and it's always good to sing sing the lighter repertoire as long as you can. I know it's so attractive to try to go and sing, like I didn't want to sing Carmen until I was absolutely ready, and I think Carmen trends change, because when I was singing Mercedes at the Met the first time, it was the Zeffirelli Carmen production, and there were a lot of very big, meaty voices singing it. And then when I did the Richard Eyre production that they're doing now still at the Met, I noticed that the Carmens were becoming more lyric, and that was a trend that I was like, oh, okay. Then when I would hear some of the singers that were singing it and some of the covers, I started to kind of go, I think it's comparable. I think I could do the same thing. And I would do it, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I just kind of like was very careful about it. I did Tragedy of Carmen, and then I did a concert version of Carmen with Stephen Bias.
Nice.
And then I did that was my first fully staged Carmen.
Wow.
So yeah.
How about having to say no in your personal life to ensure the voice and you, the instrument and the artist are, you know, on your game? Is that hard?
Yeah, it is hard a little bit. Sometimes, you know, if you're going somewhere that's loud, or there are times that I have to study, and let's say like Billy's, my husband, his family loves going to the movies around the holidays, and I remember more than a couple times where they would go to the movies, and I said, you know what? Since you guys are going to the movies, I have so much stuff to study and work on, and you guys are going to be sitting and watching the movie. It's not like I would be missing out on spending time.
Conversation.
Yeah. So those kind of things are kind of a bummer, but I mean, I really like showing up as prepared as possible, so then there's no nerves or, well, there's a little bit of nerves. Excitement, we talked about that too. Not nerves,
Right.
excitement. So I just like to be as prepared as possible. So sometimes I have to say no and those kind of things.
Yeah, all right. Bridget wants to know, and this is, I guess, for after school, how do you go about finding a coach or voice teacher?
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about doing that? I mean, and even in your specific instance, did you pick a location? Did you pick the teacher and then went to that place? Like, how'd you pick your destinations?
Okay.
Or did your destinations pick you?
My destinations kind of did pick me, so I feel like that was part of that decision making. But with BU, I had some great coaches there, and they were in the Boston area, and I was in the Boston area, so I kind of would stick around. But I kind of cheat on my coaches. I go to many coaches. I don't just stay in with one coach. And I'm very open about it. I'm like, oh, and I saw this person about French, and I'm going to go see this person about early music. And Boston's really big into early music, so you could find really great coaches there for that, and for modern operas too. So I think I just find what I need.
Gotcha.
You know, if I need someone for a specific, like there's somebody in Boston that's fantastic with French diction, so I'll go to him for, right before Carmen, I'll go through dialogue with him. And then I have a good friend that I just reconnected with, kind of like the two of us. Like I haven't seen her in a long time, and I didn't realize that she lives 15 minutes away. So we've been coaching out of her house, and that's been really great. But when I'm in New York, I try to, coach with like the id coaches too, and just try to keep the game.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, Peyton had a question that came here. I'm going to pull it up, and then I'm going to be looking to y'all out there for some questions. Let me see. What did Peyton write? Do you have a specific memory or piece of advice that helped you when you were younger?
Someone came to the school and said, if you want to be an artist that's known for being a compelling storyteller, do it now. Don't say, oh, someday I'm going to get to that point. And I thought, oh, that's strange. He says, no, just decide this is who I'm going to be, and do it, and just believe it, and start it today. Don't wait until like, oh, and then when I arrive, and that was the thing. Someone said something like, oh, when you made it. And the funny thing is, you never really quite feel like you've made it, right? So just decide, okay, I've made it, and this is what I'm going to be known for. Like, I've always wanted to be like Lorraine Hunt Lieberson, because Lorraine Hunt Lieberson to me is the pinnacle of just like this expression where you could listen to a recording of hers and be brought to tears, because it is such an expressive voice, and her voice is also acting. So that's like a goal that I've wanted to do, but I try to do that every day and say, okay, yes, I'm going to be known for being able to act with my voice as well. So I thought that was really interesting, because I was a student at BU, and it was a former student, and I wish I remembered his name. And he said, if you want to be known as a very glamorous singer, do it today. If you want to be known as, like, he gave like 5 or 6 different examples, and I thought, oh, that's really great.
No, I think it is great advice too, because then you are making the decision of what you're putting out there, and it's what's in your wheelhouse, what's in your comfort zone, as opposed to feeling like, what do they want me to be? What should I be? What should
absolutely.
I be?
Yeah, and be true to yourself.
That's good advice.
Absolutely.
That's good advice.
Absolutely.
So, do any of our LMI singers have? Oh, I see a hand.
It's Claire.
Bring it on, Claire.
I noticed in your career, you have done a variety of different roles, which a lot of people would say have maybe range and extremes. And as young singers, we're told opposing things to both do everything and to specialize at the same time.
Yes.
So my first question is, what was your maybe method of approaching the do everything or specialize? And then also, when you're approaching different types of repertoire, do you have a particular way, or did you have a particular way of learning how to distinguish between different styles of music to bring out those styles? between either languages or genres of operas, and where did you learn that, and how do you approach it now?
Okay. So the first, I'm like, okay, I got it.
That is a question.
That's a great question. Okay, so the first one, just to recap, is asking about range in different, okay. So if you are, I've noticed this, if you are a bel canto singer and if you have a good range, right? If you are singing like La Cenerentola and you have to sing high B's and low F's or whatever, I find that the modern opera composers are like, let me at this person because I can write all this stuff for you, right? So I lucked out because I've had wonderful composers in my life, like Nico Muhly, Scott Wheeler, Mark Adamo. I'm sure I'm forgetting people and I'm gonna get in trouble, I'm sorry. But they'll write specific, one or two, I did one opera was specifically written with my voice in mind. That's really the kind of the coolest thing ever, right? Because someone's saying, oh, I really like the way you do this chest voice, and I'm going to put this high B flat in there too, because I know you rock that out. So you're like, oh, well, thank you very much. So, but, well, thank you very much. Oh my gosh, what word am I singing up there? But,
Yes.
Yes, right?
Yes.
That was the word, yes.
Oh, God.
Yes. Yeah, I had to say
All right.
yes on a B flat. But I was like, yeah, I got it. Sorry, was that inappropriate? I'm smoking. But I just look at the piece and I'm thinking, does it fit? You know, I feel like it's trying on clothes. You know, and some clothes are more flattering than others, of course, yes. But if it fits and I don't feel like it's going to harm me, I will give it a try, because that's how you figure out what your specialties are, right? But I do, it's funny because I've talked about this so many times, about like how in school they're like, find out, this is what they used to tell us back in the day, find out what makes you special and do that. And like, if that were true, I would just sung Carabino all the time or only Rosinas all the time. But I feel like we have to make a living at it, so we do need to be versatile. And I think that some people do get confused by it.
But don't you think by today's standards, if you look at different generations, I mean, now you really do have to be versatile.
Yes.
And versatile in terms of repertoire and also how you structure the overall career. I mean, just the career path in general.
Yes, what she said. She said it is right. No, but it's true, because I remember that was a trend. They would say, oh, find out what makes you special. And I'm sure that there are specific voice types that that it'll...
I always analogize with food. It's like you can't like cook the perfect, what's difficult to make? Like a souffle.
Yes.
You're not gonna, I'm gonna be a souffle specialist, but you haven't tried different ways and different ways to cook. You gotta get to that point so you can make that exquisite thing that you're known for, that you take to every party. No.
Yes, exactly. So, and then Claire also, okay, so the second question, the first thing I thought of was when I was singing Popea. I did grow up in Boston, I did sing with Boston Baroque, but I didn't have a ton of experience with the ooh, 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 like all the like go trills and all the like the straight toning and everything. And I went to England and I was singing with like this superstar like conductor, Lawrence Cummings, and Jamie Lang and Christopher Ainsley, and like all these people that do Baroque opera like nobody's business, right? So then when I was singing it, I'd look around and I'm like, is that how you do it? Is that how you do it? But I would just, I kind of just try to like just listen to it as much as possible and coach it with their special, they had a coach that was a Baroque specialist. And I felt like I was a faker for a while. Like I was like, not a faker, like a poser, or like, what's it called? Like you're just faking it till you make it. But I would listen, I would record it and listen to it, and then, you know, and I became really good friends with the cast, so I would say, okay, is this how you do this? And I would ask a lot of questions and just try things out in your practice room, try things out in the rehearsals, ask a lot of questions. So like that's the example I thought of immediately, because I did feel like, is this right? Is this how you do it? And they're like, oh, I love when you do that one thing when you go into a straight tone. I'm like, oh, yes, I did it. So, yeah.
But I think that's another reason why you are so successful and have have this successful performing career is it's so much of what you just said. The fact that you are always learning, always open. I mean, people want to work with someone who is, you know, continuing to build and grow and all this.
Thank you.
I
feel like we never stop learning.
No.
We never stop learning, ever.
It's great.
And it could be daunting, but it's also kind of liberating.
Empowering.
Yes.
I agree.
Let's we choose that.
Anyone else? Oh, good. Oh, multiple. Bring it on.
Caitlin, right?
Hi, I'm Kristen.
Kristen.
Yes. So my question is about international opportunities.
Okay.
And so I don't know if this is something that your agent handles or you handle, but you're presented with a role. Do you go back to housing and flights, and is that something that you negotiate, or does your contract negotiate that? Because, you know, sometimes budget-wise, you're like, oh, that's the pay, okay. And then how are you going to take care of, I guess, flying and stuff like that? Like, is it included? I mean, does that make any sense at all,
No,
what
absolutely.
I'm asking? Okay.
With any kind of international or domestic work, my agent is phenomenal. Deborah Saunders is the best, and she just takes care of all
Even
the,
this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And Nathan
And
Murphy.
it helped it not be awkward.
Yes, right?
Right, because
I
I don't
was
want to
like, I don't
discuss that
know.
with you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
oh, great, we're dealing with
I'm
the
like,
agent.
all right. I'm like,
Yes,
yeah, let's
sorry to
do it.
interject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she takes care of everything, because it would be an awkward situation to be like, because your product is you, so it's hard to kind of like, well, can I, blah, 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 you know. So it's great to have someone who represents you, who believes in you, who has experience and says, okay, well, you've done this and this, so this was what you need your housing, you need your expenses taken, you know. So when you have an agent, or I don't know if you have an agent right now, but your agent will take care of that.
So let's say you don't have an agent.
Okay.
So do you talk to colleagues to see
would
what
imagine-
is like comparable?
Yeah,
I mean, how do you?
Actually, even with agents, I won't say names or anything, but
Yeah.
there was a friend of mine, a soprano friend of mine, who was singing a title character at a company that I've sung a title character in a couple times, and she said, hey, I just want to ask you, is it okay if I ask you what your fee was, because I want to kind of negotiate?
sure.
So, and I told her, because I feel like we have to help each other out.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I'm making friends by saying that, but I feel like we have to help each other out, you know?
Yeah, do the research and
Yeah, yeah.
for sure. And then there are going to be so many times as the, I think, opportunity for emerging artists is really connecting with the companies that are near you, because with budget cuts and whatnot, if you're a local artist and they don't have to fly you in, they don't have to house you, they can just pay you for the role, you might stand a good chance.
Yep.
You might stand. Okay, one more hand, and then we're going to shift to the game. I'm sensing we got to shake things up here.
So I have a question about like burnouts in careers. So as performing musicians, I feel like it's really intense and it's really demanding career.
Yeah.
So I was just wanting to get some advice, like what steps would you take to avoid kind of getting to that place where you feel really burnt out and kind of tired of it? How would you avoid that? And maybe how can you feel that feeling coming on and get ahead of it before you're just in that burnout zone?
That's such a great question, because, and thank you for having the courage to ask that question, because some people would think that, oh, what do I do? Oh, I can't ask that. So I really appreciate your openness with this, because I've had this conversation with some of my, I am a visiting artist at Longy School of Music, and they're wonderful students there, and someone asked me a question about how to keep from, and this is a similar, how to keep from getting too down on yourself if you're getting frustrated. So it's not quite the same question, but a lot of the things that I was talking with the students about, these are things that have worked for me. It may not work for everybody, but when I feel like what works for me, and I don't always do it, and I need to remember to come back to it. I do a lot of writing in the morning, and I just try to write it all out and just try to, and it's just like a journal, but not dear diary. It's just kind of sometimes just letting it all out and just writing. And then sometimes you look at it and it's like free therapy. You're like, oh, this is what I'm feeling, and I need to address this. I like to go on a ton of walks. Anybody that's like follows me on Instagram is like, oh my gosh, she takes so many pictures. But I go on walks by myself, quiet, I need to just kind of reset. And sometimes that's free therapy too, and I love that. Sometimes when I'm like, why can't I get this? I just would like to just step away from the piano, maybe visit one of your favorite kids in the world, and just get away from that and just remember, or a pet. You know, go see your favorite kid or your favorite pet and just kind of get away from that for a bit. Talk to your friends that are not singers. Sometimes that's good.
I think that's important
Yeah.
in finding that balance that you have. You have your supportive group that's in your posse
Yes,
of
yes.
Performance building. Your supporters there, but I think it's important to have outside of it.
Yes,
A
it's
different
so-
perspective.
Yeah, because sometimes you hear yourself talk and you say, oh, it doesn't sound as bad as I thought it was. But no, seriously, and then then talk to your singer friends that you trust. There's a lot, and then sometimes what helps me sometimes too is even going to see a performance, a live performance, because so many times we listen to recordings and we're like, well, how can I possibly be this perfect? Oh my gosh! And then you go to a live performance, like, okay, all right, I'm doing okay. And not to say like, oh, well, but it's to be like,
But it's
what's
real.
honest and
Yeah.
real, and again, it doesn't have to be. We strive to be perfect, of course, but it's really not about that. It's about really like a compelling storyteller. And some of my favorite singers aren't perfect technicians or perfect sounds all the time. Sometimes they make sounds that are like, but it's just, they just give you the goosebumps, that's important too. I feel like this is such a great question. I know tomorrow I would be like, oh, and I thought of this to say, and I thought of this to say, so I apologize if it sounds a little too contrived, but a lot of it is just kind of giving yourself time, giving yourself, being kind to yourself, speak to yourself the way you'd speak to your friend. Don't say anything to yourself that you wouldn't say to your best friend. And that's hard sometimes too, like when you're on stage, you're like, okay, here comes that A flat, don't mess it up, and you would never say that to your friend, ever. So just, be your own BFF, so it's important because you're important, and we don't need tortured souls just because we're artists. There's this crazy notion that artists need to be tortured and, sad, and it's not true. Of course, we feel things like everybody else. Sometimes we feel it a little bit more intensely, if I could say that. So you got to just be good to yourself and be careful of how you speak to yourself.
All right, we're going to transition to speaking to each other.
All right.
We're going to transition to a game. We always play a game. Our game tonight is a play on the game show Password. Do we know this game show? Yes. We are calling it What's My Cue? And we're about to call up two of our LMI participants. We're going to have Ariel and Peyton come up. But let's set the mood for What's My Cue, and then I'll explain what's going on. Let's run that video.
So I'm in the middle, yeah.
Okay, so we're still shifting and getting in. Let me make sure I have this right. The blue is Ariel.
Oh, she's the blue dress, beautiful.
The red is Peyton.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh,
we
she
can't look at
planned
each other's cards. All right,
bad.
and this is Sandy. Okay,
Okay.
so let's explain how this is going to work. And we have to, on our system, don't look at each other's cards, and we cannot see the TV. Okay? So the way it's going to work, I'm going to be the giver first on this team. We have words that are in a roundabout whatever way related to opera, okay? Maybe directly, indirectly. And I will give a one-word clue, cue to see if you can guess what the word is on here. If we don't get it, they get a turn. They don't get it, we come back, and then it's done. Although I think we'll get it. What do you think? Yes. So we're aiming to get to 12, right? Who's my accountant? What agency do we have on hand here? Caitlin and Caitlin. All right.
LLC.
So if we get it the first time, we get 4 points. Second time, 2 points. Third time, 1, and we're done.
Are you giving?
All right. And it's only one word.
Okay.
Gosh, I hope I follow the rules. All right. We.
Hoffman.
Good guess. Good guess. Good guess.
France.
La Boheme.
Eiffel.
Like,
Mimi.
Okay, so maybe I didn't explain clear enough. What do you guys want to guess it is? Paris! It was Paris. Yes, it was Paris. So we get 0. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. All right. No, my gosh. It's more fun when we don't know what we're doing, right? If we get it all right, it's boring. All right. All right. Haydn, you are giving.
Carmen.
Spain.
Okay, now you give to me. You
I have to
the
look
word.
at the card. So it's the number 1, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, this is terrible.
No, it's great.
Leader.
Carmen. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Leader.
Like leader.
Oh, leader, not German.
Okay.
Just aha, 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 aha. Oh, Toreador? No. Okay. Gosh, we're terrible. I don't know. No, wait, she gets to
So
go.
this is the same clue.
Same
Oh,
clue,
the same,
okay.
the same word.
Same word.
We're supposed to have the same word?
Oh no, the word on here is the same word.
Okay.
Okay.
Stevie Nicks.
Gypsy.
Now I want to make sure. I think we have our cards mixed up.
Something happened there.
Okay.
It's supposed to go red team does one, blue team does one. You guys put red.
Ah, okay, then that didn't make sense. What was our word?
Maestro.
Maestro. Okay, because I was like, holy mackerel, how in the heck did we get there? All right.
I was scared too.
Yes, we're good. All right, I will be a good sport. I'm okay. Are you okay, teammate, with them having the 2?
Yes.
Okay, we're fine with it. We're fine with it. We'll get it right now. We'll get it right.
She's a good
We'll get it right.
sport.
All right, so now we need to shift back to red, right? Blue. All
Okay,
right, so now
so-
it's Sandy and Ariel. So now we'll
Okay.
be on the same we'll be on the same word. Okay, Sandy is giving to Peyton. Number 2
Okay.
on blue.
All right. Vino. This is cheating, I think.
I don't know.
Just take a guess.
Bohem. I don't.
Okay?
Drank.
Is it just one?
Yeah. Thank you, John.
Was it one?
Yeah.
All right.
I think I totally cheated. I just
All right.
said the word in
I
Italian.
love it. Bring it on.
That's
Bring it on.
awesome.
Okay. All right. We're
Okay.
warming up now. Watch out. Watch out.
All right.
Watch out. All right. Who goes now? Boss us around. Team red. Word number 3. So I'm giving, yes? What?
What do we miss?
All right. Oh, okay. Okay.
Can I demonstrate it? Sorry.
Good. So, or should Sandy goes first this time,
No,
right?
No. Is that? Oh, or do we?
No. It's red. All right. Do you want to go? Okay. So I go.
Oh, so you give. Okay. Yeah.
Traviata.
Tuberculosis.
Amazing. That was.
Do I get a penalty for a victory dance?
Impressed. That was awesome.
All right.
That was amazing.
I got that from the anguish.
All right.
Yes.
Sorry. Are we penalized for victory dances? No, we are not.
Bonus points?
All right. Okay, so now it's 6-2. Okay. All right. Who's up? Blue team.
Oh, it's me.
What number word? Number 3.
All right. I just want to demonstrate. Lucia.
De l'amour.
Okay. Okay.
Notes.
Yes, that's good.
Coloratura.
Amazing.
I promise you, I do not know these words. We are not cheating.
That's
And
so
just, if any of you
funny.
have watched, I have
Like I said.
often bombed these games. So I'm like, I'll try to hone in my excitement. I've just made an idiot of myself too many times. Good job.
That's great. That's so
Good job.
great. It was a word. That was great.
Good job. Good job. Okay, I have no idea where we are. All right, where are we? Red team word number 4. Okay.
It.
Clown.
That was so good!
She was like, it.
That was fantastic!
That was amazing. I'm impressed.
Awesome. Awesome opposing team. All right. Do we go first or do they go first? Yeah, but which side? Sandy, have you gone first?
I can't remember.
Let's get Sandy go
Yep,
first. Go
okay.
first, Sandy.
Just one word?
Death.
Yes. That was cheating. That was so cheating.
No, it was not at all. It was great. All right, what's next?
Bleh.
Red team. Did you get first last time?
I did.
Yeah.
Okay,
Your
so.
turn.
Am I allowed to move? I'm allowed to move, right? You move,
Yeah, totally move.
Okay,
Always
okay,
move.
okay. Love.
Ring. Cycle.
Valid, very valid answer.
Figaro.
Marriage.
And I was really sort of cheating with my ring business. So I think they're at 12.
The score is your team is 8, Sandra's team is 11.
How'd that happen?
But we're out of words.
No, there's one more.
Oh.
Blue team, Ariel starts.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm nervous now. Oh my gosh, it's all on the line. It's all on the line. Okay. Oh gosh, that percussion's stressing me out, but keep it coming. Okay.
This is a lot of pressure.
Okay. No, it's all good.
It's okay.
Oh my gosh.
Opera.
Diva.
Nice. Very nice.
You're awesome. Give me a
That's
hug.
awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Did we just win? Have you bought a shirt yet? All right. So my teammate here will take home a lovely LMR Live T-shirt. You're an awesome partner.
Yay.
And I want to say Ariel is here from Queen's University, yes? From Canada, yes?
Yeah.
So thank you for being a contestant on LMR Live. And Payton, you guys rocked it.
Yay.
You rocked it. And Haydn is a student here at the University of Mississippi, and she's my voice student, so I'm biased to her. So thank you. Oh goodness, don't fall over. All right, ladies, thank you so
Great
much.
job,
Take
great
it. Great job. So with the final moments that we have, I just want to toss out, is there another question from our LMI participants? Anything someone would like to just know, or even non-LMI? How about my patrons? Is there something you want to know? Yes, ma'am. Gilda.
I want to know where you got your shoes.
I make a lovely Vanna White. Thank you.
All right. Hi. I know we talked a little bit about how being a singer is kind of like an organic instrument. You know, it changes as you age and you do all these different things. I guess my question is really like, at what point did you know, like, okay, this is what I sound like right now? And was there ever a point in your career where you were like, what I usually do isn't working anymore, so what's going on?
I had this conversation with somebody after the class too. It's like every 6-7 years or so, you kind of sometimes go through a little bit of a growth spurt or whatever you want to call it. But you do have to keep reassessing and reevaluating and see what works for your voice. Again, like it's like trying on clothing and saying, okay, well, this maybe I'm ready for this repertoire, or this seems like something that will fit. So I think the most important thing is what's healthy, and if it feels right, and you have a teacher and a coach that you trust, and you are just, I feel like as much as I could stress to young singers, sing as light as you can for as long as you can without, being precious and like singing off of your voice, but always try to, don't try to sing something before you're ready. And I would rather be the most glamour cast, I used to say this when I was singing Carabino, most glamour cast Carabino than a Delilah that would just get by, I would rather really just knock it out of the park than to be like, oh, well, she sang the right notes, good. But no, you want to really embody the character and do a great job with telling the story and also vocally.
And don't you find it, for me, I'll just speak for myself, it was a moment of realizing it's never going to be set.
Yeah.
Our instrument
Yeah,
is
it's
always
always
changing.
yeah.
And I can only speak from a female perspective, but in my opinion, no offense, gentlemen, but it's harder for the female because the voice is changing, especially when and then you add in
Like pregnancy
and post-pregnancy
Yes.
and just lots of things. And it's realizing it's okay that you're going through a period where, okay, what the heck is going on? Because it may be a moment of great growth.
Yes.
You've reached, I always say the development is not steps, it's plateaus.
No. Yes.
And we get on that plateau and you're there a while and you're like, oh my God, I figured this out, great, all right, we're good. And then the next day it's like, oh my gosh, what has happened, right? Because you may have been there for a while. One person, but in my experience, that's normal. And I think when we're okay with that and it's ever changing, but it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
But it also, I'm going to use what you said before, it's empowering too in a weird way because you get to engage the mind and you get to really continue to develop. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are times that you come back to a role after you haven't sung in a while, you're like, oh, well, here comes the difficult part. And you're like, oh, that's not too bad. That sounds pretty good. And then you're like, oh, this is the easy part. Oh, why is this not as easy as it used to be? So, I mean, just be kind to yourself, look at it, like maybe step back a little bit and say, oh, I think I'm doing a little bit too much here that's affecting this next passage. Or, just like try to really look at it. You're a music ed undergrad, right? So like use those teacher skills to kind of say, okay, how am I going to approach this? And how am I going to effectively nail it?
Well, there are so many things that we didn't even get to cover, but we're to the end of our hour, and we've got to wrap this up. There are so many other things. I know there are going to be great opportunities for my LMI participants to ask you questions. I will also say if you have a question for Sandy that we didn't get to, we'll try to do a follow-up, so send them in. I'm sure you'll be great about that. So many special people to thank. I want to thank some very special guests in the house here who know about Secret Salon Society. I want to thank our audience via the web. I want to thank the College of Liberal Arts, the Music Department, the Inn at Ole Miss, Nukes, McAllister's, the Chancellor's House Hotel, the Yoknapatawpha Arts Council, and some really important people. The University of Mississippi music students who are amazing. Yes, I meant to separate. They produce and run this show, and I could not be more proud of them. It's an honor to be their teacher and to work with them. So who am I talking about? Ava Street, live stream technician. Caitlin Richardson, visual coordinator. Carly Weilman, lead camera operator. Give them a round. Also want to thank, we have a ringer tonight. We have Amanda Flyflet back there doing sound, and I want to thank my cohort in this endeavor, Brady Bramlett, Executive Managing Director of the entity. Give them a shout out. And I want to thank Sandy, because she really, you immerse yourself, you share, and we are appreciative. You're exquisite as a person, and you're exquisite as an artist, and I'm lucky to call you a friend and a colleague.
Honey.
So thank you, thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
If you're in Oxford, come on back to Nutt Auditorium tomorrow, 1 o'clock, to hear our LMI participants doing an aria matinee. If you want to come back and hear the Sandra Piques Eddy, 7:30 tomorrow night, Nutt Auditorium, and then she will work with some of the LMI participants after she does a recital. So before we go to that outro video, join me as I say, the music revolution continues!